But, I ask, all this admitted, is what you call a necessary truth an existent fact? You say, it must be so. I say, what if there is no God? Convince me that prayer is heard, and I shall know. Why should the question admit of doubt? Why should it require to be reasoned about? We know that the wind blows. Why should we not know that God answers prayer? I reply, what if God does not care to have you know it at second hand? What if there would be no good in that? There is some testimony on record, and perhaps there might be much were it not that, having to do with things so immediately personal and generally so delicate, answers to prayer would naturally not often be talked about. But no testimony concerning the thing can well be conclusive, for, like a reported miracle, there is always some way to daff it. And besides, the conviction to be got that way is of little value. It avails nothing to know the thing by the best of evidence. As to the evidence itself, adduction of proof is scarce possible in respect of inward experience, and to this class belongs the better part of the evidence. The testimony may be truthful, yet the testifier utterly self-deceived. How am I to know the thing as he says he knows it? How am I to judge of it? There is King David, poetry, old poetry, and in the most indefinite language in the world. Doubtless he is little versed in the utterance of the human soul, who does not recognize in many of the Psalms a cry as true as ever came from depth of pain or height of deliverance. But it may all have been but now the jarring, and now the rhythmical movement of the waves of the psychical ether. I lay nothing upon testimony for my purpose now, knowing the things that can be said, and also not valuing the bare assent of the intellect. The sole assurance worth a man's having, even if the most incontestable evidence were open to him from 1,000 other quarters, is that to be gained only from personal experience, that assurance in himself which he can least readily receive from another, and which is least capable of being transmuted into evidence for another. The evidence of Jesus Christ could not take the place of that. A truth is of enormous import in relation to the life, that is, the heart and conscience and will. It is of little consequence merely as a fact, having relation to the understanding. God may hear all prayers that were ever offered to him, and a man may believe that he does, nor be one whit the better for it. So long as God has no prayers of his to hear, he has no answers to receive from God. Nothing in this quarter will ever be gained by investigation. Reader, if you are in trouble, try whether God will not help you. If you are in no need, why should you ask questions about prayer? True, he knows little of himself, who does not know that he is wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. But until he begins at least to suspect a need, how can he pray? And for one who does not want to pray, I would not lift a straw to defeat such a one in the argument whether God hears or does not hear prayer. For me, let him think what he will. It matters nothing in heaven or in earth. Whether in hell, I do not know. As to the so-called scientific challenge to prove the efficacy of prayer by the result of simultaneous petition, I am almost ashamed to allude to it. There should be light enough in science itself to show the proposal absurd. A God capable of being so moved in one direction or another is a God not worth believing in, could not be the God believed in by Jesus Christ, and he said he knew. A God that should fail to hear, receive, attend to one single prayer, the feeblest or worst, I cannot believe in. But a God that would grant every request of every man, or every company of men, would be an evil god, that is, no god but a demon. That god should hang in the thought atmosphere like a windmill, waiting till men enough should combine and send out prayer in sufficient force to turn his outspread arms. It is an idea too absurd. God waits to be gracious, not to be tempted. A man capable of proposing such a test could have in his mind no worthy representative idea of a God, and might well disbelieve in any. It is better to disbelieve than believe in a God unworthy.